Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SoCal AI Talks podcast. I am the host, Edgar, along with my partner, Luis. We talk to business owners and entrepreneurs about their field of expertise. And along the way, we talk a little bit about AI and how that's impacting their industry. Today, we have Maria Noll-Mayes, who is the founder of Take Five. Maria, thank you so much for joining us today. Love the concept behind Take Five, bite-sized, science-backed wellness that actually fits into your day. So it's really cool. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so thank you so much, Edgar and Luis, for having me. I'm grateful to be here, grateful to your listeners. Take Five was born after my own journey through overworking, over caretaking, and not caring for myself and hitting a wall of burnout. So, fast forward from that burnout after quite a few years of deep self work and healing and learning how to care for myself and learning how to infuse my day with small micro practices to nourish and reset my nervous system, I started Take Five in 2020. So it was one of those divine pushes, if you will, in that in 2020, I had been in the tech industry for over 20 years and was already had started a wellness business in downtown Fresno, where I'm from, with a partner, as well as was teaching on the side. But during the onset of the pandemic, the tech company I was working for decided to close down their US operations. And so I led that process and then thought, if not now, when? We need this now more than ever. So the last 5 years, I've really focused on bringing these practices into the workplace where they're needed most, but quite frankly, not done very often.
Gotcha. And for people that are new to the idea, what is a micro practice and
Yeah.
why are they so
So
effective in today's
Right.
world?
So a micro practice is anything that can help you step out of the chaos and the noise of the busy world, the fear-based media, the constant onslaught on our nervous system, and come back to a calm, clear center. So an example of one might be just being guided through learning a deep breathing exercise, or just some gentle desk stretches, or possibly a guided visualization, or maybe it's a movement practice to release and process emotions. So they come in a variety of forms, but they're all designed to help you feel grounded and centered, to help you release emotional toxicity and stress, and to allow you then to fully arrive for whatever your next activity is, or whomever you are with, or whatever you're going to consume as well.
Speaking of consuming, I was reading your story on your website, and I saw that you had some experience in the wine
Yeah,
industry. Can you tell us a little bit about how that impacted your journey, the mindful wine tasting experience or
sure.
job that
Sure,
you
yeah.
had?
So I learned early on in my corporate career, fresh out of college, that the deal got done at the cocktail table and not the conference room, and found Chardonnay to be a little bit of a self-medication tool, right? And so over the years, I was not very mindful about my consumption. In fact, it was numbing of anxiety. And so through my journey after I came back from doing a lot of deep healing work and also stepping away from any substance of any kind, I was able to come back to wine in a mindful state of reverence. And so, one of my passions is creating beautiful wine and food pairings. And so, I've been helping out in a beautiful little boutique winery here on the road to Yosemite National Park. So, I'm there about once a month and I do education. And so, I'm a WSET level 2, which is just a wine certification. But I blended basically my mindfulness and my wine training into an experience that can really be transformational, whether it's with food or with wine or with anything else that you may have numbed with in the past, to really come at it from, again, arriving in full presence, being intentional about each sip, and then truly enjoying. So that definitely is a big part of my journey. I also teach in substance use programs as well as behavioral health care programs. And so that, that particular mindful consumption is not something that's going to be a fit for everybody if they're in a program that or need additional help. But for those who, like me, had a tendency to just numb out on occasion, take the edge off after a long day, that wasn't nurturing. Even if it's one glass of wine, if it's done with the intent to numb, it's not going to nurture the vessel. And so, really, it's about making conscious choices. And the only way we can become conscious with our choice making is to really get fully present. And this world is designed to take us out of presence. So that's why my business exists, really, to help us come into presence.
Wow, that was deep.
Who thought wine could be deep, right?
So, Maria, tell us what you think. What do you think are the top wellness challenges that you're seeing in the workplaces, especially among like healthcare teams? And how does your company play a part in helping alleviate that?
Yeah, I think, specifically, I do a lot of work in healthcare and behavioral health settings, as well as education and tech, et cetera. But if you think about the pace at which their days are run and the amount of overloaded schedule and the amount of space that they hold for others, either the patient or the client coming in, that's a lot. And the traditional system is not built to support and help them regulate their nervous system throughout the day. And so what I found is it's very hard to get long practices in, right? And that's the same thing that was true of my life. That's why I really started with these 5-minute practices, because they do add up. You can retrain your nervous system even with 5 minutes a day. And so what I found is finding that opportunity to weave these in a way that's not like fluffy wellness, if you will. I mean, there's so much wellness out there, right? And there's so much fluff and noise in the wellness workplace, and I try to keep it really real. I mean, we're looking to just release the stress of the day. And so my language is very much real, authentic, and I think because it comes across that way, it cuts through some of the noise of all the, butterfly kisses, wellness practices out there that are quite frankly a lot of BS, if it's not because a lot of times the folks who are sharing that in that very fluffy way have not experienced maybe some of the things that the folks that they're training are going through. So it's hard for them to relate, I think. And so, not to be holier than thou or poo, anything like that. It's just, there's just a lot of noise, right? And there's a lot of fluff. And, I think keeping it real.
Rooster?
Yes, that is a rooster. I'm surprised it picked it up on the mic. Yeah. So that's keeping it real. I have a rooster in my studio.
I
Yeah.
love
Yeah,
it.
it's I'm on an acre and my studio is built in close proximity to my roos.
Yeah, that's so cool. I've always wanted a rooster.
But they're fun.
Sorry.
I have a chicken around. Yeah, I have a chicken that roams around my complex and she follows me to like
Oh,
my
I love it.
garage and stuff like that. It's so funny. Yeah, I'm so sorry to
Yeah, no
interrupt, but
worries.
that
But
just caught
that's
my
I mean,
attention. And I was like,
I think that's part of the thing though, too, that what I've found resonates with people is keeping it real. It's not scripted. We're doing
yeah.
things that are
So
are real, right? With real challenges.
yeah, so tell us a little bit how you just how since you're speaking about your program and how you kind of go about it. Tell us how you design your programs to keep them engaging, and do you have any particular tools or platforms that you use to manage both the design of the programs and the delivery or the
Yeah, for
experience?
sure. So my program design comes from my personal experience in the corporate world and being a patient in the medical system, as well as working in that field for a long time. So it starts with that. And then I leverage my intuition when I go in with new clients to get a real feel for what challenges they are faced with, what the energy is like, there's so much that you can gather by just kind of getting a sense of the energy in the room and the body language and how people respond to questions, etc. And so that's another part of the process. And then I leverage quite a bit of technology. I have a digital studio, a platform that is accessible on any type of device. It's browser based, and that was intentional. That serves up these really simple micro practices. So for example, you might be during the middle of a work day. Let's say your team has purchased a subscription or a membership. You might be in the middle of a work day and you're going to get an email that's going to maybe jab at you a little with some hard truth, like how long you been sitting at that desk today, right? Or how do you feel after doing three, patients back to back without even taking a breath, right? So just to kind of jar you into opening that email, and then it'll have that day's micro practice as well as some teaching. So I leverage a combination of email, because that is the one thing that we will not check is our work email, right? We all need to deliver, we need to produce, we need to perform. This is the world we live in, and so we need to be in that inbox. And so I pull them from the inbox, which is typically a stress inducing place, right? And take them into a place where they can reset through the digital studio. So I also leverage some AI platforms to help me streamline my communications. And there's quite a few, all the standard kind of business tools in terms of AP and that kind of stuff too.
That's awesome. That's brilliant, actually. Talk about knowing your audience, right? You know that in their inbox, so that's how you get their
Right.
attention. So we love that you said you're already using AI. You said you're using it for like some not content creation, but like email
Yeah,
generation
the way
type.
I use it, so it's one of those things where it's kind of you have the opportunity to fear, going back to a conscious choice. I could fear AI, um, like a lot of folks do right now, or I could look to see how I can create a relationship with it that serves me and serves my clients, but still brings through my authentic voice and increases my productivity. And so that's essentially how I use it. I've found, and it's taken some tweaking here and there and figuring out my right flow. So, an example of how I leverage AI would be so each week is a different theme within my membership, and it's based on a teaching of nature, right? And so I take that nature teaching in, that comes to me through my own meditation practice and what I know is going to be happening within my work week, because I also in an intensive outpatient program for behavioral health and substance use. So I kind of know what we're doing there. I know what's going on in the world, right? And then I tap in through my own daily practices because I practice everything I preach. And I come up with a theme and then I say, okay, I want to incorporate this wisdom teaching, right? So maybe it's the law of giving and receiving, for example. And as I incorporate those things, I use AI to help me fill in some of the blanks, like grab some data for me, right, on the coherent breath, which is proven to help us rewire the nervous system when practice 5 minutes a day for 5 weeks, or help me massage this wording so that it sounds a little bit more eloquent. I've found that you really have to look at
Mhm.
it as if it's your assistant, right? And so if you've had a personal assistant before, like I have, and you give that person instructions, you have to sometimes go back and forth and be like, that's not quite right. I actually was looking for this, or, oh, I didn't mean that.
Coach them. Yeah.
So I find that AI is like that. You need to be very clear with your direction, and you can really then allow it to become a great tool for you. But I also, because I encourage people to step away from all technology, that's part of why I'm here, and the services that it's just part of my purpose. It's doing that with mindfulness, right? So stepping into the relationship with using this tool in a mindful fashion to up level my work. And if it doesn't sound like me, if it's not my voice, it's out. Then I scrap it and say, no, that's not like me, and I don't use it. Because you can tell. I mean, we've all seen it on LinkedIn or social media or whatever. You can tell what's AI for the most part when it's stock, when you haven't created that intentional relationship to make it really your own.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Everybody does mention that it's a great tool, but I've never heard anybody use that analogy of training it like your personal assistant. And you do, right? Whenever you onboard anybody, you have to train them how you like
Right.
stuff done. Same thing with AI. And yeah, Edgar's really good with his prompting. I was giving him compliments on his AI prompts not too long ago because you do have to be very specific of what you want.
Right. And double
Maria,
check
so
it.
you have a background in
Sorry, I just
yeah,
had to
double
throw that
check
Yeah,
it.
in. Double check it.
You have a background, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
we
You
know
have
all too
to,
well
yeah,
about hallucinations.
Mhm.
yeah. You have a background in UX and analytics, right? Like user experience and
Yeah,
analytics from your
I've
corporate. Yeah.
played a lot of roles in the tech world, primarily everything from obtaining the customer, negotiating the contract, to designing the implementation and onboarding. I never did any coding, with the
Uh-huh.
exception of taking a coding class to determine if the development team I was working with was BSing me on timelines, so I'd have a little bit more information. Or have So I don't write any code, but I would work very closely, definitely on the user experience and design.
Well, you're talking to two QA analysts here,
Mm,
so we both have a background in that. So yeah. Aside from my background, is also a former gym owner, which is why we were starting to talk to people in the health and
okay.
wellness industry. But back to my question here: how do you think AI could elevate like the digital wellness experience without losing the human touch? We've noticed that in speaking to a lot of the people in the health and wellness industry, that is the most important part of it to them, to not lose that human touch, which is a thing that they're passionate about,
Right,
right?
right.
How do you think that AI could elevate that
You
experience?
know, I think it can elevate it kind of like I described in how I'm using it. And I was just thinking of this yesterday. So, or maybe it was the day before, but this week, some point, I was in at a client site teaching. And as I was taking them through a guided relaxation, a little visualization, I could tell one particular client within or patient within the group was really, it wasn't working for them. I was seeing the agitation in him. I was seeing him struggle. And so I pivoted in that moment to something that I could tell through his body language and his energy he needed in that moment. And I don't know that AI can do that. I don't know that AI can read the energy in the room. I don't know that AI can adjust based on body language. I'm sure there's some through, I'm sure we're getting there, right? But I think that's something, being fully present for another human and seeing when they need more assistance, less assistance, when you need to pivot, that is something that is a human experience that AI don't think will replicate, because AI will never have consciousness, right? It'll help us raise our consciousness if we use it wisely and choose it for things that uplift, right? So yeah, I think we can use it to streamline our deliverables. So what used to take me probably 5, 6 hours creating my lesson plan for the week and the guide that would go out to my clients, now I can do, sometimes 20 minutes maybe. So that's huge productivity
Wow.
increase, right? And
Right.
it's still very authentically me. It's not, I'm not letting it run the show. I'm still guiding it, right? And making sure that it's authentic. So I think, with it's a responsibility we have, right? We have to be responsible with our use of it. And so I think for the wellness industry, if you look at it as a tool to how can I streamline my deliverables, right? The busy work, the admin stuff that a lot of times, if you're in the wellness field, quite frankly, you're not good at and you don't like, right? And so how can I use it for that? And then how do I continue to cultivate my being more present for that human experience that I'm having?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So tell us a little bit about what's working well right now, and maybe some bottlenecks or issues that you would love to get rid of,
Okay.
or take
Yeah,
by.
so I would say one thing, so I was doing, I found this yesterday. I was doing so part of my offering to my members is recipe of the week, right? That's designed to nourish. And this is kind of a new part of the lifestyle piece that my members said, hey, we want to see more lifestyle stuff from you. And so I said, okay, let's do it. And so I created this. So here's an example. The recipe was developed based on me walking through my garden, tasting different herbs, thinking, oh, this would be good with this, that would pair great with that wine. I developed the recipe. That's all me, right? That's my IP, right? But then I put that into AI and say, okay, format this into a recipe. I want the directions, the ingredients, which of the Ayurvedic 6 tastes, because part of what I teach is Ayurvedic lifestyle. And so that would normally take me to cross-reference my things if it's not in my head. Most of it's in my head, but a lot of times I'm looking at different references to make sure I've got it all right. And now with AI, it can be boom, boom, boom. I still want to double check it, right? But it makes it so much faster. So I had all that done. That was super fast, but then I wanted to put it in a graphic, right? And so I found myself then dropping it into Canva and using their AI. And I already have templates set up and whatnot for my business in there. But I found with this one, it just couldn't quite get what I wanted. So for me, it's more on the translating from the document to the finished work product, right? The text that you've created, but then putting it in, I'm very aesthetic in terms of wanting everything to look very nice and calming. And so I find myself spending more time, I think, than I probably should. If maybe I haven't found the right tool yet, and maybe you guys will introduce me to one. But I've used Gamma before. I use Claude as one of the ones that I use regularly. Chat, but yeah. So I haven't found one where I just say, "Bing, put this in, give me all the graphics, make it pretty." By the way, I want to use this picture of the recipe that I created, that I took, right? Because I want it. I don't want all the. Again, it's got to be authentic. It's got to be me. So yeah. That's where the bottleneck is for me. I think translating from text to actual the aesthetic look and feel that I want with images. You got a solution for
Well, you're definitely very tech savvy. You mentioned like 2 or 3 tools that we use. We use Canva, and it's so funny because I was thinking of the analogy. Edgar started making our thumbnails when we first started this YouTube channel, and he was using AI. And then I was like, we should probably start asking permission. But it was funny because every time you submit, it changes it so much that like by the third or fourth submission, it didn't look anything like the person. And I think that's just like generative AI and the way it's when it first came out, it really, for lack of a better word, sucked. Right, it was
right.
really bad. It's gotten a lot better. I think Microsoft, for me, was the best one when I first started messing around with
Okay.
images. But since you mentioned, that maybe we'll recommend a tool, that's kind of what we do. So we talk to business owners and entrepreneurs, and we talk to them about their journey, what's working well, what's not, what bottlenecks or issues they may be seeing in their field, and then we actually take the transcript of the call and throw it up on an AI tool, and that analyzes everything we said and says and recognizes any opportunities for AI tools to be implemented to either automate some workflows,
Right.
save time, which equals
Right.
money, as you've been mentioning. So I think you get it. You're already doing some of
Yeah.
that.
Have you played with Gamma at all?
So yeah, that's not with Gamma. We've heard about it, but I have not played with it at all. Like I said, I've messed with like the three. We have Gemini for most of our business platforms in our business, but Edgar loves ChatGPT, so he's an open
Yeah.
AI guy. And then,
It is.
like I said, I've messed with the Microsoft. More on the
Yeah, I
image
would
side
check it
though.
out in terms of the thing I'm thinking of is one example of how it was really helpful for me and why I bought into it was I was asked to give a presentations to some adolescents through NAMI, National Association of Mental Illness, here locally. And I wanted to have some slides to back it up, because images can draw in the attention, especially of adolescents who are hard to keep their attention. And so what I did is I loaded one of my micro practices where I'm explaining the physiology of the breath and how many systems it impacts, etc. And I loaded a video of me talking to Gamma and said, create a slide deck from it, but target it to adolescents. And it did a really good job.
Yeah, I remember messing with it a little bit back when I was in college because I went back to school as an adult, and it was creating like videos back then. It wasn't even so much AI where it was just creating a whole presentation. It was really good. I do remember that.
Yeah, so I circle back. I would say that's an example where I was able to leverage it and get a slide deck to put together really quickly, but it was still my authentic voice because I gave it a video of me to base it off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So here's a
we've
question
been
for you.
messing with like. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Here's a question for you. Do you see a world where AI helps personalize daily micro practices based on team stress patterns or behavior trends?
Yeah, definitely. I see that as, it's very interesting because I did a little I've done some workshops recently where I'll give you this example, and this would be literally, I was thinking about that in this workshop and how I would use this is, um, I was it was actually a high school and it was their social workers, and we would have about 5-minute sessions, 5 to 10 minute sessions. And so I would get a small group of them to come in, just maybe anywhere from 1 to max 5. And I would ask them very specific questions, each of them as individuals. And then I would create a micro practice on the fly to address those issues, and we would do that before they leave. And it was very impactful because it was all customized and it was short and sweet. And I thought that having AI be able to do that through, some assessments that I've already designed, and I think that is definitely for things that are known, right? It's still, I don't know how it'll solve what I described earlier, where you're reading that something's not, you got to be able to read your audience, right? And if you're seeing that that's not quite working, being able to pivot. So I don't know that I'll get there, but I think to have a recommendation like, here's your list, this is what I'd suggest for you based on your feedback last week or your watch list or whatever it might be. So definitely tons of potential there.
Yeah, and look how it learns, right? So you can go back to a topic that you were talking about and say, use this as reference, use the history that we've already
Right.
established. Keep going with it, and so it becomes more
Right.
personable, more like you.
Even with I'm thinking of my lessons plans too, to just continue to get that learning done with Claude. I'll say, okay, I'll load the plan that I finally agree to from the week before, not all the different, just to continue cycling it through and getting it better and better, I think. So,
Yeah. Like you said, you got to keep an eye on it. It changes it too much sometimes. It definitely still needs that human approval.
absolutely.
Well, Maria, we are coming up on time, so we want to be definitely mindful of your time. But before we wrap it up, we also want to give you the opportunity to, tell our viewers and yours when we share this how they can find you and how they can, book a session with you if they wanted to do
Okay,
so.
I appreciate that. You can find almost everything that is Take 5 at my website, which is take5.health. So rather than .com, put in .health. And then I'm on the social channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, etc., as at Take 5 Health, no dot. So either of those will get you into my world. I have a newsletter where you can subscribe and get a free micro practice. And then you get one free practice anywhere between once a week to once every other week. So it's not a daily thing. It is a couple times a month thing. And those are free practices that you can experience what I'm talking about and see, hey, maybe this is something I want to explore more of. You can also book a free coaching alignment call. So I do one-on-one coaching, for those that want a more private journey. But yeah, I do group instruction as well as individual, and the membership is all primarily on demand with some live as well. So
Awesome. And I do see here on your website you have a contact form, and you can even, like you said, schedule that alignment call right from your website. How do you sign up to the newsletter? Is that after you sign up as a member, you get the newsletter automatically, or is there a way to sign up to your newsletter from
no,
your
so
website?
right on the first page, the homepage, if you click on the try a micro practice, it'll put you in. And there's a few other places that's embedded in with different words.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. All right. Well, like I said, we'll go ahead and run this transcript to our AI tool, and it'll identify anything that you said that may help, that may, it will identify any AI tools that may help your business from anything you've said. And we'll send that to you absolutely free of charge for, being on our podcast today. And, if you're not opposed to it, we'd love to follow up and see if any of those tools make any sense and would help your business, the bottom line. Awesome. And then I'll also send you a few short clips from this recording so that you can share those on your social if you'd like. We are a little behind on, I wouldn't say behind, but we have a backlog of episodes. So this probably will go up sometime next week on our actual channel. But yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us